Welcome to the Sketch Zone podcast.
Jack Kasperzak, hello, my friend.
Hey, I'm Jack. I'm back. I'm the intro stealer. I'm the punches dealer because Tyrus ain't here.
I usually get job leads too, but it usually has something to do with a weed whacker or some dishes.
I have been Microsoft Excel.
Did she say she does?
She said Excel. She just said that.
We were busting on Photoshop Pro last week in Windows, so we got Excel. We got Excel as an actual market. So we got explain this.
What other kind of software do you use? Quicken.
Did Charlie say Quicken? The funniest thing you ever said. I'm literally asking you for it. You know what, Charlie? You know what it is? You know what it is? You're emotional. That's what it is. You're emotional. You can't hear me talk because you're emotional. You can't hear me. I'll let you be wrong. I don't mind. I'm nice like that. I'm nice like that, Charlie.
Okay.
You all right? You
I
get a
just
little
think
emotional.
we should bring it in. I can't stand anyone on this podcast. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
I was channeling my inner whine about it. Hello, everybody.
Yo.
Welcome to the, well, actually 40 episodes, Chuck.
Is this number 40?
This is number 40. Welcome to the 40th episode of the Sketch Zone podcast. I'm Carlos Gomez. This week we have borrowed from the third floor pre-visualization studio a professional Jello shot maker, Marvin Rojas.
Wow.
Charlie.
Jack's not here.
Son of a...
I do it every time. You know why? Because I'm too busy listening to you. And I forgot. And Jack is going to yell at me now. Hold on.
Good.
He is. Like.
All right. Are you ready yet?
No, I'm not. I'm so nervous now.
All right.
Do it again.
Professional Jello shot maker,
I can do this.
Marvin Rojas. How's it going, Marvin?
Pretty good.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you. Funny you mentioned that title because that's not actually what I wanted to put on my profile. It's just that because my actual title is shot creator, not Jello shot creator, but for whatever reason it just didn't show up on the drop down, and I just instinctively clicked accept and hit OK. And it wasn't until about, I want to say like 5 weeks later that I get this random email from a friend of mine. So what does a Jello shot creator do? I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh, I
Totally
change it now. Too late now.
That's wonderful. I saw that and I thought maybe it was just an inside joke or whatever. So I was gonna give you, I was gonna add to your 15 minutes.
I was gonna go with it. I was like, we're gonna get some really good recipes tonight, like, exotic, Jello.
Well, we had Ara on. Ara's a 3D guy, and he's like, you guys should do one of these shows where you're drunk. Now we know. We're gonna invite Marvin back.
The professional
but he's going to make
shot
some
maker.
Jello shots, and we're all going to get toasted.
Color-coded. Amazing.
Speaking of color-coded, Charlie B. Williams III.
So hilarious. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be back. I can't believe it's 40.
40, yeah.
I'm going to tear up a little bit. I hope you and Jack bought me a nice present. Something cool.
Yeah,
right?
we did. You should be getting the shipping label thing soon.
Sweet, just the shipping label. That's it.
Yeah.
Shut
up.
Speaking of things, we got big things next week though too. My birthday's coming up. It's gonna be great. I think it might fall on the show.
That's true.
I don't know if it does. Oh, it's one day next.
No,
it's
one
Thursday.
Day, yeah. We got you when Mama Williams was still holding you in.
I came early.
There's a joke in there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But instead,
shut up.
Yes.
Instead, we're gonna go ahead and introduce my girl, Lisa Castellanos.
Oh, I get to
Hi, Fisa.
Hey,
How are
how
you?
are you guys?
Thank you for joining in the fun.
Yeah, it took you guys 40 episodes to get
Ooh.
to have me come in here.
Girl, you were
Talk
one of
about it.
the early adopters. We had you on, like, I think I'd have to do the research. I think maybe you were like single digits or early tens.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, you were one of the firsties.
We were so pumped.
Yeah, I was excited about that show. But instead, we're celebrating 40 with my man Marvin Rojas. Marvin, what do you actually do for a living? You might make a tasty Jello shot, but you do
pretty looking exotic Jello shot.
Well, okay, so like I was saying earlier, my actual title is shop creator, and that's a pretty all-encompassing definition, which is essentially I take existing assets and add a camera, add basic lighting. It's basically a layout artist, but an animation layout artist. So I'll create animations where necessary. I'll import motion capture where necessary. I'll look at storyboards, talk to directors, put in my ideas on how I think a particular shot would look, and basically try to push the scene as far to a moving storyboard as possible to be sent off to final, so they actually do the filing on their end. So it's more of an in-between a director and a storyboard and a final artist. And that's kind of what I like about it, because I use pretty much every single corner of that program now, whereas before I was pretty specific to just animation.
And what program?
At the moment, it's Maya.
Maya.
Yes.
This is always interesting to me. I was so excited for this show because I don't know many layout artists in your aspect in terms, and I always wondered from reading you see the job postings and you hear about them, like how far do you take your animations and stuff in the beginning? Because are you more previous, or is it layout right before a shot that's being assigned during a film?
It really depends on the director and on the project.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on projects where I spent so much time on the animation, I'm like, why is this not final? And then I've also spent time on animations where it's literally just guys sliding across in like a T pose or like a run pose for stuff. So it varies from project to project. It varies from director to director. It varies from show to show. You never know.
Does your stuff stay in throughout, or are you the guide that the animators go off of sometimes then?
Yes. My stuff never makes it into final for previs. In post-viz, occasionally it will. That's unfortunately lazy animation, or they just run out of time. But for the most part, we're just the guide. It's kind of like the storyboard artist. It's never the final stuff. It's just a guide for stuff.
Awesome.
While I was doing research on you, you were at Ready at Dawn Studios, and you were called a focus puller.
Yes.
What is that similar to what you're doing now?
Sort of. Basically, focus pulling is when you watch a movie and there's a camera rack. So, for example, there's somebody in the foreground and somebody in the background, and right now this is sharp and this is blurry, and you want to shift the focus. Like, let's say this person's talking, and now this person's going to talk, and this will be blurred out, and this will be sharp, so your eye will follow what the focus of the story is. And that's essentially what I was doing for a game. That's the first game I've ever seen that done on, and this first game
I've never heard that.
Yeah, so I was very, very surprised, and the way I got that particular job was I had already worked on several games before, and they hired professional focus pullers. One of the focus pullers was actually one of his first jobs was the original Alien movie. So he was pulling focus on the original like late 70s, early 80s movie, but he had no clue how to work a game engine, and that's kind of where I was brought in to kind of be the liaison between them and the engine, and then I ended up doing a lot of focus pulling on my own as well too.
That's pretty neat.
Proprietary engine? What engine were you guys using?
It's the Ready at Dawn engine.
Ready at Dawn engine. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So you could figure it out, but the film guy couldn't.
Well, it's one of those things like showing a fine artist how to use Photoshop. They're going to be lost the first time they use it because they're not going to know about layers or or plugins or filters. They're just going to know, here's my brush, here's paint, go at it.
Yeah.
You need somebody to teach you the program, and that's kind of what I was there, because I knew what they meant by adding notifies or adding stuff to packages like you would in Unreal and that sort of stuff. Or oh, that's an Euler problem. You got some flips going on here, or that's not going to work because blah 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 blah. And they would have no clue on how to do that. Just even naming conventions, they didn't even know. Like, why does this have to be named this way? I'm like, well, because the script that you're running. Okay, let me tell you what a script is, and so that kind of stuff.
It's just like a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but they were both like, it took about a good solid 3 weeks to get them working with constantly over my shoulder. Hey, how do I export this? Hey, why is this not working? Hey, what does this mean? Kind of stuff.
So how does someone get into what you're doing now? Like when you were in school, and we'll talk about where you come from and everything here in a second, but when you're in school, did you think to yourself, yes, I want to be a focus puller?
I honestly have no idea how I ended up where I am.
Exactly.
It's just one of those things where the only thing I really knew when I went to school was I wanted to make games of some sort. Originally, it was kind of film or something art related. Mm-hmm. And then, like most people, I saw the Final Fantasy on the PlayStation 1 and decided, nope, video games. That's what I want to do. And fortunately, that worked out. And then I was a general artist when I started out. And then I found out I was particularly good at animation. And then I was particularly good at human animation. And then I moved into motion capture. And then for motion capture in sports, I moved to motion capture in World War II games. And from that, I also grew up with guns, being from the South, so they decided to put me on guns for World War II games. And then it became guns for Cold War games. And
Was
then
that your
became...
only qualification?
What's that? Yeah. Guns, yeah, basically, yeah.
You're from the South, you get the guns.
Ski shoot in the backyard, yeah, hot shots at beer cans. And then and that's when I jumped from those guns to weapons in Lost Planet with futuristic guns, and it's just been a really roundabout way. But like everything, pretty much, I've been really lucky that I've had a very like broad background of what I can do, and every aspect of what I do has helped me in my career at some time.
And that's just amazing. You made that jump.
Yeah.
So what made you jump to film? Was that just like a buddy or a friend, or are you just like, I kind of want to do this now?
A little bit of both. I've been making games for so long. My first job was in '96. So from '96 until early last year, so about 18 years of making game after game after game. And it's one of those things, like after you do it for so long, you kind of get burnt out. And you need something to recharge your batteries, or just to step away from it for a bit. And I was like, well, I don't want to change careers. I do enjoy what I do, but I was finding that I wasn't playing any games anymore, which is, in my opinion, a pretty big no-no if you're working on them. Because I was actually looking through my my bookshelf the other day and realized I still have games wrapped from the PS2 days that I never got around to playing.
Isn't that weird how that happens?
Yeah, that's kind of a problem. So. And then I had some friends that were in film, and fortunately I forged enough of a relationship, and they knew that I knew what I was doing, so that's how I jumped over.
That was me with Portal 2. I bought it, and I unwrapped it, and I got as far as opening the case. I have yet to play that game.
It's such a short game. You can probably beat it in 4 hours.
It's that gamer right there. He just came out. He's like, "What are you doing? Finish it."
My Xbox gave me the red ring of death, so you can look on Instagram. I put it outside, and I climbed up to the roof, and then I dropped a big boulder on it.
You actually sent that in and got another one. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Damn.
Yeah.
If it's too late.
My 360 red ring like 4 or 5 times in the span of that thing. I sent that mug back each time. They sent me a box.
Damn.
It was like, here.
I wish I would have known.
Oh,
well,
dude. Yeah.
You can go on Instagram and see.
You can watch it. Probably hilarious.
Anyone who's listening, if you have an Xbox who's flirting with giving you a red ring of death, go to my Instagram and pull this up and tell your Xbox this is what happens when you act up.
Also, tell you,
never get a red ring of death ever again.
also, if you still working with that red ring, you know, there's new things you can buy, so that you don't have to deal with it, and then you can threaten your Xbox, your 360. I have to go find this new girl.
Easy.
I saw someone put a picture because they just bought Black Ops 3 and they bought it for Xbox 360.
Oh yeah.
I want to. How does that look? How good is it? I should go look it up. I want to know how good that looks now.
It looks a lot better on current gen than last gen.
I bet you it does. I just wonder how that whole game is. Just to go do it. Just to go back and play it.
Nobody has hair. They're all bald.
Right? They all have like helmets on.
Shadows are all off.
The whole time. It never comes off.
The default lighting.
Nothing but male characters.
Two-tone. So, Marvin, you said that you're from the South. You're actually from LaGrange, North Carolina?
Yes.
So what do you think, kid? You think the Panthers are going to go all the way this year?
Oh.
We're 8-0. So, yeah, people are shocked that I actually still follow the Panthers here in California. Because they're like, you were not a Chargers or Oakland or San Francisco fan? Like, nah, I got to stick to my roots. But
right, especially in LA. LA can't even hold their team in town. Everyone keeps leaving.
Exactly. Usually, whenever I go to bars, I'm the only Panther fan there, and that almost got, I don't want to say violent, but it was very uncomfortable when we played the Chargers a couple of years ago and won on the last play of the game. And I had about 300 Charger fans just glaring at me at the bar, and the bartender was nice enough to immediately close me out without me asking. So I shout out of there pretty quick.
Shout out to that bartender for saving your life.
Exactly.
Because there's somebody in there itching. He say one thing. I'm hitting him.
Did you guys see? There's a meme out there that's talking about all the undefeated teams in the NFL are all big cat teams.
They're all cat names, yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Panther, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the New England Cheetahs.
Cheetahs?
The cheetahs.
Oh, cheetahs.
Oh, man.
I saw that. It took me for a second. I was like, "What? Okay, no, what?
That's not right."
That's not even a cheetah. Oh, damn.
Cheetahs. That's clever. So much salt with that.
Oh, so good.
So
you are Little Marvin in North Carolina, and what was it that triggered your wanting to play? Was it Final Fantasy, or was it anything that you played before then?
Yeah, actually, is what I played before. I grew up with a family of very little means, so we never really had much stuff to play with when I was a kid.
We played Cardboard Man all the time.
Exactly. So all I really ever had was basically pencil and paper. So I was bored, just a little kid with an imagination. I was always an avid book reader. Never really watched too much TV. We had a TV, I just never really cared for it. So I just got really good at drawing, and then I had to have a minor surgery when I was a kid, and I was bedridden for about a month, and my dad felt bad and decided to buy me an Atari 2600.
That's an awesome dad. Yeah.
And he simultaneously was happy and regretted it because I never stopped playing that thing.
He's like, "Oh, you're better now. You can go outside."
Even until now, people are like, "What's your son do?" Oh, that kid.
It worked out, but he was not happy for several years because he couldn't watch the news because I was always just in front of the TV, just with a little joystick playing. So
what was your jam? What was that one game that you just couldn't live without?
Oh, Combat.
Ooh.
The original Combat.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you and I are probably relatively same age range. Did you go to the
Probably older.
Watch it. Did you go and hang out at the arcades and stuff when you were a kid?
Yes. We had one arcade in town, and there was 3 of us that were just owned the place, and we refused to play each other because that was just it was the most intense games ever. But we just knew if one of us was there, just leave him on. Don't even. It was kind of like a respect kind of thing.
Oh, let him run. Let him run. Open run.
Let him run the machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let him run the machine.
Ah, it's the day.
Charlie and I were in LA a few months ago for SIGGRAPH, and we went with Jack to this arcade, and it was the same thing as way back in the day, where you put your quarter up there on the side, and like somehow everyone knew whose quarter was what.
Yeah,
and
I never figured out how we knew that either.
Yeah.
But there was this one dude. What was it? He was
It.
playing Street Fighter.
But it was the old school Street Fighter, like the first one. The first
Was it Bar 82 or?
Huh?
Was it Bar 82?
I think so.
It was Bar 82. Yes. Yeah.
And he like basically okay, so he would play someone and he would whip that ass so bad he would hand them a T-shirt and it said, "My ass belongs to that guy."
No,
Like
it was cool. I'm a Street Fighter fan. Like I got the Hori fight sticks and everything here, and I never liked the original Street Fighter back in the day, but this dude knew the frame data. Whooped my butt something fierce. I said I was done after 2. Play him again. I'm like, no, dude, this dude is, you don't understand. He knows frame data. This dude is different. He's just chilling. He just
What did he look like?
Like short
little brown kid, like probably Middle Easternish.
Yeah, yeah. But maybe he's short, maybe like 5'6", 5'7".
Yeah.
But was just like chilling. You could tell he's there all the time because he had boys, he had other people coming up. They were playing, they give him a good little run. But dude, he was going in with Blanco.
It's always the little guys that are just incredible.
He was using Blanco, man. It was ridiculous. It was annoying and ridiculous all at the same time. And he would back you into the corner and just be like, it was great. You know what else we saw there, and no one else knew who this was, but randomly, and I've never had this sighting, and probably in visiting LA fashion, I went to the bathroom. I come back to find Carlos and Jack. I'm walking. It's packed by this time, right? Because it got kind of packed after a while, right, Carlos? So it's packed, so you got to walk around people. And I come face to face with rapper Joel Ortiz, and like from Slaughterhouse, like just out of nowhere. And obviously, I said it, and they were like, "Who?" I'm like, you don't understand." He just said, "What's up?" And he said, "Excuse me." And I said, "Excuse me," whatever. Walked around him, but I was like, "Wait a minute." You know how you do a double take? You're like, "That's Joel Ortiz." I come back to Carlos and Jack, all like excited, and they're like, "Don't know who he is." I'm like,
okay.
So
Whatever.
Did you say rapper or wrestler?
A rapper.
Rapper.
Oh, okay.
Like a candy wrapper.
Really? See, that's what I got. So no help. So, but it was awesome. I like that place. It was cool. Fun times.
So then you going back to you, Marvin. Sorry. So did you end up going to art school at all?
Yes. Well, I use that term loosely. It's basically it's one of those smaller technical trade schools that basically just teach you to program, which they definitely do have their place. Looking back, I wish I would have gone to like a 4-year school, like a Ringling or a CalArts or something. But one, I didn't know those existed at the time, and 2, I'm fortunate enough where I did have the art talent that carried me through the school itself, because it was a breakneck 9-month course that taught you 3 programs in those 9 months, and in those 9 months you had to also make your demo reel. So I mean, it was non-stop.
At what point? That's kind of crazy overlap of, all right, you know Maya now, cool. Start thinking about your reel. Like it's 4 months in.
About month 4 is when you had to start turning in like sketches for like what you were gonna do. It was pretty crazy.
So it's a certificate program?
Yeah, it was a certificate program in 3D animation. And at the time, it was 3D Studio Max,
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop, and for some odd reason, CorelDRAW.
What?
Yeah.
Don't even get me started with CorelDRAW,
Use
dude.
crayon.
Oh my god. This is my CorelDRAW story. This is when I was finishing up my advertising degree, and I went to the Latino TV Guide of Chicago, and they needed a designer, so I went there and I drew up some ads and I did all kinds of stuff, and then they're like, "Oh, this is really cool. Can you come hang out?" And so then I started helping them with layout. And they did the entire layout of their TV guide in CorelDRAW with like a full copy of Quark right there. I was like, do you know that this could be so much easier? And then like the art director there, she kept telling me, "Oh yeah, make sure that image is SMIC." And I was like,
Watch your mouth.
right? I was like, I know that you're Spanish. You can't be calling me Smith. That's not cool. Like,
Watch your mouth.
right? And I finally said, "What do you mean SMIC?" She goes, CMYK.
I was like, really?
I was
Whoa.
like, can we go back to SMIC?
I am so going to use that from now on.
Yeah.
Snake.
What up, SMIC?
People think you cussing them out. What did you say,
What
B?
up, my SMIC? So Marvin, what was your big break?
Ooh, that was dumb luck. Just flat out dumb luck. So so two things. After I graduated school, there happened to be a game studio in North Carolina, in Raleigh, where I was going to school.
Just happened.
Well, yeah, it's friggin' North Carolina. I mean, population counts. So it really surprised the best out of me that there was a game development studio there. It was a small PC house that's no longer there, but they actually secured the Warhammer franchise. And this was back when I was in high school. I was a huge Warhammer fan. I used to have for those people that know, I had a 6,000 point fully painted army. And I was playing every weekend with friends, and I happened to theme my demo reel to Warhammer. And of course, we kind of knew about them because we were at the school. And at that time, their entire art department decided they wanted to start their own studio and just walked out on them and left them late on a milestone and about to miss their second milestone. So basically, I show up and say, "Hey, I'm graduating school in about 2 months, and this
Perfect.
is what my demo is going to be." And the guys are like, "As soon as you graduate, you're hired."
Yeah.
Because you're exactly what we're looking for. So that was my first break into the industry, because I went in there and me and my roommate actually got hired at the same time, and we helped them get caught up on their last milestone and meet their next milestone. And then we finally managed to finish the game. So that was a lot of fun. That was definitely trouble.
What kind of crazy crunch did you walk into?
I know. And this is just where they get free coffee.
It sounds like computers are still on, like saved right in the spot where they lasted their last keyframe. You're like, who's Frank? He's not here anymore. Just finish whatever he was doing.
It was a mess. It was an absolute mess.
Cheeto stains are on your keyboard.
Oh God! I hope that's Cheetos. Yeah. But it was actually a really it was a good team. It was a really fun project. It was a good team. It was ridiculous work hours, but I'm glad I worked on that project, because it's one of those dream projects that when you're straight out of school, it's one of your biggest passions. Like if you go work on, like I said earlier, Final Fantasy as your first game, or if you work on Resident Evil as your first game. I worked on Warhammer, and that was my first game. I knew people that went years working on essentially shovelware before they finally broke into an industry where you recognize the game. So I really can't complain about it.
Which Warhammer game was it?
It was Warhammer 40K Chaos Gate. It was a turn-based strategy game for the PC.
Yeah.
I don't like that kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
It was essentially an extension of the tabletop game, just done on computers.
But he was in heaven then, yeah.
Yeah, you have to paint your own army. That's the
reference folders alone probably you've been like, oh, I need to copy this stuff.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You need to excuse yourself, cat.
That
I love the cat. The cat's trying to get screen time. He's
been running around
and knocked something over, and I just see his head like, "What's up?" And
yeah, pretty much.
I'm waiting for him like to jump on you.
I was half expecting that. He was doing his little like whiskeys kind of just. Let's get into that cat thing, and he ran like 4 circles around. That's why I kept looking over because like I've got to get like just mauled here in a second.
Yeah, I kept seeing his head. I'm like, oh, I think we're gonna get him mauling. I think he's gonna jump on him or something.
Exactly.
And then start making you nervous, so you're like looking to your left, like.
You need a pillow over here. Just stay away. Stay away. Yeah. But anyway, so that was my first break into gaming. But my first big break came about 2 years later. Unfortunately, that company wasn't very well run for reasons I won't get into. So a bunch of us decided to go to SIGGRAPH. It is a SIGGRAPH 99. Jesus.
Classic.
And we all made our reels. And I dropped it off, and I didn't hear anything back from pretty much anybody. So I'm like, well, I wanted to come out here and kind of see what the convention was like and everything. And I happened to go down to the job center with a friend of mine who did get a call back from Blue Sky, of all people. So I'm talking to him. We just happened to be there early, and I see this guy from EA come up to me. He's like, Marvin. I'm like, yes. Marvin Rojas. I'm like, yeah. My name is Dale. I work at EA. We saw your stuff, but we didn't know you were in Los Angeles. We wanted to get you an interview. I'm like, seriously? So, well, I'm available. It's like, well, you know what? We're actually booked for the rest of the day, but we got 10 minutes till we open. Do you want to come in for an interview right now? And I was like, obviously, yeah. And we sat down and watched my reel. They were really impressed with the animation. But at that time, motion capture was relatively new. And they were having a really hard time trying to get people who were willing to work with motion capture. And here I am, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I'm like, EA, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So basically, they hired me to come on right before PS2 shipped, and I was one of the first animators to go work on Madden Next Gen.
Nice.
That was my big break.
Nice.
And that's what I mean by it was just dumb luck.
Can you imagine the rest of SIGGRAPH? That's awesome. He's like, yo, you know what? I'm just gonna go chill.
Yeah, pretty much.
I got a job.
Right.
I think I got really drunk that night.
That was back in the day.
That's back in the good days too. It was '99, Blurs,
Exactly.
party, and everything was probably
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
You're like, you know what? I'm about to go party.
That's when I used to be
great
just
story.
before it was even Autodesk, and Sony had that massive party at the zoo, the LA Zoo.
Yeah.
I remember that
It's
party.
great. Used to have those big parties too, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So is that the reason why you moved to LA?
Part of it. For me, it was more of a tactical thing. Basically, I was at Tiburon, EA Tiburon for 4 years, working on the Madden franchise, and I actually really liked it there. My career was going very well. I had very good coworkers. I just didn't really care for Florida. It's a fantastic state to visit, and especially
It's a lot of fun to leave.
Yeah, if you don't have like a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, there really is nothing for you in Orlando, because Orlando is about the size of Santa Monica without the surrounding anything, because it's pretty much swamp as soon as you get out of the city limits, until you hit the beach on either side, or Gainesville up north, or whatever the hell you hit when you go down south. I knew if I ever.
Cubans.
I'm sorry.
You get hillbillies and Cubans.
Yes. Well, in Orlando, it's mostly Puerto Ricans.
Yeah,
Cubans
that's where I'm actually going to Thanksgiving.
Oh, really?
I'm going for Thanksgiving. My mom lives out there, so I know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's why I live out here.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I still have friends out there. I did like my time out there, but again, going back to the reason I left, I knew if I ever got laid off or decided to quit or whatever, most of the jobs are on the West Coast. So I was like, you know what, let me just go ahead and move to the West Coast. And fortunately, at the time, EA was just opening their new studio in Playa Vista, and they needed people like crazy. So I applied in for a transfer and got approved, and that's how I moved out to Los Angeles.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a really cool campus. That's the one that has like the soccer fields and the basketball courts and all that stuff. FISA, Josh Robinson used to work there. He gave me a tour of that place. It was neat.
Mhm.
So speaking of Los Angeles, something happened last week. I don't know if you guys saw this. Well, FISA and Charlie didn't. Obviously, I didn't because I'm not there. But
Oh, the theme?
yeah, like people thought it was a UFO flying in the sky.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so what happened? Come in.
So there was a weird light in the sky, and everyone came running out and taking pictures and everything. They thought that it was a UFO.
Yeah, because it was all over Facebook.
Yeah. And then, like, in the morning, the U.S. military was like, oh, it's just us testing some missiles.
Testing missiles.
Testing missiles over Los Angeles.
Yo, who's their PR dude? We can't really say what. Just tell them we're testing missiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know what's scarier is the fact that we have them testing missiles. I almost wish it was a UFO.
Or some kind of new drone or something of that sort, right? Like.
It was. I don't know. Like.
So what did it look like to people?
It looked like a UFO.
Really,
Yeah.
just like a light orb?
It was cloudy, so you could see like the trail. The trail was like a big arky bubble.
Oh wow! I think Steve Tokossi might have posted some pictures. I think
Yeah, he did. You know, he's
He's like, yo, what is this?
Steve operates on the hair trigger, dude. That good.
He had the probably the first one posted
Oh my
online.
god. I hope I'm sure Steve's Facebook post is like UFOs are outside. I hope they wait for the iPad Pro to come out before they take us over.
I'd really like to get the
really
sketch of
want the
this.
iPad Pro.
Not
really like
before
to get a
Fallout
sketch
4. Come on, let me play Fallout 4. That's all I ask.
Right?
Yeah.
You can probe me all you want, but I gotta do Fallout 4 first.
You can probe me all you want. Let me get my first 20 minutes in, so I just take the edge off.
Hey, do you guys think I saw on a post that somebody thinks that Fallout 4 sales will beat Black Ops 3 sales?
Don't
Yes?
think so.
No?
Don't think so. They said it's doing really well right now.
As far as the hype machine goes, Fallout 4 definitely is getting it done. I keep seeing Fallout 4 stuff.
With them sales right now for Black Ops is looking really good. I think they have to do some catching up. See, because I feel like Fallout might like plateau 2-3 weeks from now, but I don't think Call of Duty will plateau yet for a while. I mean, it'll obviously gonna build back up for Christmas, right? All the parents will buy these things. That'd be the real test, like right after New Year's, to see who like really won. But it's gonna be close. I don't think so. I think Call of Duty will kind of edge them out. Something about shooters that people buy more often than single-player games.
Yeah,
nowadays.
for sure. Multiplayer stuff, yeah.
And
It's
Call of
funny.
Because
Duty-
everybody buys it and then they make their friends buy it, so they can
Right?
play it.
Yeah.
Well, you think about this, like because of the way the consoles are now with social networking. You guys have probably experienced this. You turn your console on, right? You're like, okay, cool. I'm gonna get maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever in, and you look at your friends like, oh, look who's on. Everyone's playing Black Ops. Huh? I didn't pick it up yet. Okay, and then you turn on. Everyone's playing Fallout. I guess I need to go get it, right? People are sending you invites. Yo, come on, jump on in. I don't have it yet. They kind of, and then like it's like insult to injury after the 5th invite. You're like, stop calling. I'll just log off. I think so. It's a great way of people buy stuff. I've seen people leave the house. I'll be back. I'll go get it. Two people ask me about it. Or they don't have to now, right? They can just download it. They don't even have to leave the house. They'll just hit that button. People.
I actually have a quick story about that. I went to after the original Black Ops ship. I ended up going to Hong Kong to visit some friends of mine just to take some time off. And so we all go down to like the downtown district there, and everybody's all dressed up because it's Hong Kong, and it's like the nice bars and everything. And I'm in like jeans and a t-shirt. And this one girl's like on her phone and just yelling at some guy, and she keeps hanging up and just like, hurry up, let's get out here. Like, we're out here, blah, blah. So I kind of go over and talk to her, and I said, what's going on? It's like, no, my freaking boyfriend just doesn't want to come out yet because he just picked up some new game that just came out today. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, it's called Call of something, and it's something about zombies and blah, blah. So, oh, you mean Call of Duty? Yes, that game. Do you play that game too? And I'm like, I worked on that game. That's why I'm here. We just shipped that game. I wanted to get away from the U.S. for a bit. So it's like, give me 1 second. Hi. So the guy that made Black Ops is here. Oh, now you're coming over. Now you're going to be here. I think it was 6 minutes later he was there.
Dude, you know he was. He said, I gotta go, guys.
He's all out of breath. I came over so
button all weird.
Exactly.
Would you guys rather live through nuclear holocaust like Fallout, or like an alien UFO takeover?
Alien.
Like
Any
alien
reason
takeover. like alien they won.
Well, okay, so let's start the conversation like this. If aliens were to come to Earth, do you think they would be friendly, or do you think they're coming to rape our resources?
Oh, they're gonna be here to pillage and plunder.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now with that table set, would you rather deal with nuclear, like a Fallout 4 situation, or aliens raping and pillaging?
Well, see, I don't think the aliens would rape and pillage. They just destroy and maybe churn me into biomatter.
Yeah, they need to clean the slate.
I don't know if I agree with you, because if you listen to all the weirdos that get abducted, the first thing they say is they put something up my butt.
Yeah.
That's the first thing they always say. So they're going to destroy things, yes, but they're definitely going to have butt stuff happening.
Oh, that's kind of a hard one. You know, it's like.
Well, yeah, that's why.
I don't really want either. I don't want to pick, because like, you know, living in those vaults don't sound really cool either, especially if you got a fault to them. You know, from Fallout, right? You come out and no one's around, or you got to deal with radiation, where you turn into biomatter.
Yeah, either way you're done. I guess which way?
Either way, you're biomatter.
Which way would you want to go? Do you want to melt away slowly in nuclear holocaust, or would you?
Cause you could go out blazing, I guess, with the fighting aliens, or.
That's my thing, because all you need is a really good Tom Jones record. If you remember, Aliens Attack.
Yeah.
So this seems like a really good time for. Hang on, let me find it real quick. For. Did you guys hear that?
Nope, nothing.
Oh, nice.
Son of a. All right. I don't know what's going on. Let's play this or that. So, Mr. Marvin, this is where I give you two topics, and you have to pick which one you prefer. You ready?
Prefer to talk about.
All right. This or that. Do you prefer making games or making movies?
Ooh, it depends. Wow, that's a really hard one to answer, because it's not an easy answer. I prefer games because that's what got me into the industry, but now I prefer film because now I'm no longer tired of making games, so I can go back and play the games.
With that being said, do you prefer playing games or watching movies?
Playing games. Not really a movie buff. I don't really even watch TV besides football. I don't really. The only time I really watch movies is when I'm on like a trans-Pacific flight somewhere, and then I get caught up on like. I think I saw the entire Lord of the Rings flight on my way to China one year.
Really?
Just because
So you don't even get into going.
And it wasn't even out. He watched a bootleg.
It's all grainy.
I was wondering why my friend was real Chinese. It didn't make any sense.
The corner of the screen.
Hey, here's a quick story on that. I was watching one of those movies. The guy who plays Wolverine. He was playing Vampire Hunter or whatever.
Van Helsing.
Yeah, Van Helsing. And there's this one part where all the people are running out of the town because Dracula is there or whatever. And, like, it looks so real. And I was like, oh, my God, that's really cool effect. I can't believe they pulled that off. I was watching a bootleg, and the people in the theater were standing up in the way of the camera. I was like, whoa. So, yeah, I was watching.
Nice.
I didn't realize I was watching it, but all right. So now that we know you don't really watch many movies, Disney or DreamWorks?
Ooh. God, you asked me really hard ones.
Yeah.
Because now that I'm
dumping them this week.
I'm actually seriously considering watching films. God, that's really hard. Before I got into films, I was more of a DreamWorks guy, just because it's more adult themed usually. I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I do have a niece and nephew. If only for that reason, I would say Disney, because I worked on Jungle Book and I want to see what they think about it.
Yeah.
Just me personally, I'll say I was more of a Shrek fan or Kung Fu fan. That's just more my wavelength.
That's fair.
Pixar doesn't count. That's different. That's not Disney.
Yeah. PlayStation or Xbox?
Right now, I was always a PlayStation guy up until the 360, just because it was so much better put together. Although now I don't own either console, but if I would get one, it would be a PS4.
Nice.
Mm.
This has been in the news for quite a while. I don't know if you're into mobile computing at all. iPad Pro or Surface Pro?
Surface. I've been looking at getting one here soon, and I was waiting for the Surface to come out.
Surface Book.
And now I'm getting the Surface Book, actually, yeah, because it's probably better for work. Because I do occasionally work remotely, and I've done that a couple of times where I've been overseas, and I've had to work while I was out there. So it's time for an upgrade, because my laptop's about 7 years old, so
Ooh.
Surface heads out.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Since you touched on the subject, and we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but you worked on the it's not out yet, but the upcoming release of Jungle Book. So, are you more of an animation guy, or are you more of a live action guy?
I mean, I'm a tweener, because I do mostly motion capture, so that's both and neither. It's really hard. You're asking like it's really like trap questions.
They weren't
even supposed to be hard.
I guess I would have to say more animation that I like to watch, because it's not what I do day in and day out. But I'm more comfortable with working with like live action motion capture kind of stuff, because that is what I do.
Makes
All
sense.
right. Would you rather go on a nice vacation on Earth, or would you like to space travel?
Space travel.
Very nice. All right, this one should be somewhat simple, hopefully. LinkedIn or Zerply?
It depends on what for.
What? Just pick.
Nah, he's in between everything. He's in between everything. Yeah, he doesn't like to commit.
He's like,
I like caveats. I'm sorry.
It's like he's got sponsors. Gotta make everyone happy.
That just goes to show how like thoughtful of a person.
Yeah.
You just like sometimes it'll just be like this and that, blah, you know, and they're just run for. You're like, you're getting all like stroking
Good
your
question.
beard. You're like,
Yeah.
that's an
Good
interesting question.
Well, I like red wine. Let's have heavy fish. You like white wine. Let's have heavy fish. You don't have a rosé.
So you were talking about doing some traveling. You you've been to Europe, you've been to Asia. What is one of the coolest trips that you've been on, and for what project?
For work, I've only ever really traveled to Canada and the UK. Personal trips, it's all over the place.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ever make it to space?
Was that?
Ever make it to space?
Not yet. I'm hoping to, even if it is my ashes being blown off into space, I will do that. So.
Hey, they keep shooting those missiles over LA. Your ashes a lot sooner than you think.
I'll gladly go.
It's okay, Carlos. It was just a test. That's cool.
Yeah. But what the hell are they testing?
We just tested missiles. That PR dude's awesome.
No, I think the official line they gave us is we do have a missile defense system on the West Coast, and they occasionally do have to test the missiles to make sure it's actually working. So they shoot them over the Pacific, kind of like North Korea is constantly doing out in the Sea of China. Because they do have to make sure that if anything happens, we can actually defend our side. But because it is technically classified information, they can't tell the public, hey, we're going to be conducting missile tests, which is why what happened last weekend happened. Is basically they'll shoot it, and the next day say, oh, by the way, we were just checking to make sure that the on button worked. So
yeah, we're just doing some stuff.
You know, someone set their coffee cup down on the button. They're like, ah, shit, it works.
What are we
Well,
gonna say?
just tell everyone it works then.
Yeah, exactly.
30 emails
I see
later.
Homer Simpson back there doing the whole mighty thing.
That's funny, just because of all the car chases that they have. They didn't have like a helicopter following it, like filming it live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know. There's something to that. Trying not to be too much of a whatever that is.
It was Maverick or somebody test pilot. They weren't supposed to be in that airspace.
You know what's funny?
The new
Some of this
plane.
stuff has come after the junky websites that have. I saw like a picture of some alien baby thing that they say they're finding everywhere since that thing's gone over.
Yo, the conspiracy theorists are crazy. They go field day. They're like, it is real. Then they write a 7-page dissertation about it, complete with weird photos. They're always blurry and just out of focus.
Yeah, I think somebody claimed to find a chupacabra. I think it was Nicaragua or something.
Yeah, I remember that. That was in the summer, right?
You can just go to robotsandaliens.com and see one.
Well, no, because the university professor came in and did DNA testing. He's like, nah, it's just a dog with mange. And everyone's like, no, it's a chupacabra. You're lying. It's the government trying to cover everything up. And I'm like, since when are you guys in the United States? Like, you guys don't cover up anything.
Yeah, right. So we talked about this briefly earlier. You worked on the Jungle Book movie that's coming out soon.
Yes.
Did you watch the original? Have you ever watched the original?
A very long time ago, when I was about 7.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite movies. So how did you get lined up to work on that?
That was that friend of mine I met at the VR event, because I had just gotten back from the UK, and I had finished working on a drift, I think. Yeah, and I was already working at Dawn, and I had maybe like a month left on that contract, so I started to put feelers out, and John Root was at the VRLA event, and I just happened to run into him, and we just got to talking, and like the first thing he asked me is like, hey, are you looking for work? I'm like, I will be in about 3 weeks. He's like, oh, perfect, talk to this person because I need motion builder people for motion capture. And that's how I just put my name in, and then I was brought in for the interview, and it was funny. I showed them my demo reel, showed them my resume, and they were just essentially just like, you've got the job. We just wanted to see if our personalities would fit. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So, yeah, so can you start like in a week? I'm like, yeah, perfect. Just a quick question. What am I going to be working on? And they're like, oh, they didn't tell you? No, we're working on the Jungle Book. I'm like, oh, now I know. So I actually got hired before I knew what I was going to be on.
You're sitting there like, one quick question.
Yeah. What am I doing again? Is this? It's not like a Magic Mike thing, is it? This is animation.
Are you saying Magic Mike is fake?
No.
Not too magic.
Oh boy.
So when you were there, and you do motion capture, were you there with the actors watching them like do their stuff, or did you get the stuff did you get their data?
No, we got their data because most of the motion capture stuff was done on set, and they had an office or a set downtown that they were using for pretty much everything, and that's where all the motion capture was done. Although they did have a mocap space at the studio that they were going to be using specifically for that project, and they would just never ended up using it. And I was actually slated to be the talent for that because I've worn the suit before and I know what I'm doing. But fortunately, they didn't need me for that particular project. But no, to answer your question, no, it was already pretty much all done for us, and we just got the data and cleaned it up.
Nice.
So now when you see the movie, will you know what's your work?
Yes. I can already see just from the trailer, there was a couple of shots I could tell I worked on.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
And how long was that cycle for you there? How many shots did your studio get for that one? Or were you guys the principal studio for that?
I think it was something like 1,100. I think it was up. It was somewhere around 1,000. I mean, it was a lot of shots.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it was between 8 and 1,100. I want to say. I mean, it was something ridiculous because they were all very short snippets. It wasn't like any long, really like a stab. I think there was 1 or 2 shots that were longer than maybe 15 seconds. Everything else was like 2 to 4 seconds, 2 to 5 seconds.
Wow.
Super short shots.
So what was your official title on this movie then? So because you said you worked in motion capture, so were you just cleaning up mocap, and then were you also laying out scenes? Since it sounded like they were quick cuts or whatever.
It's the exact same thing I'm doing now for the third floor.
Okay.
But every company has a different title for the responsibility and slightly different responsibilities. So out there, I was called a lab animator. And I don't know why they're called lab animators. And at the third floor, I'm a shot creator. Even though I'm not technically creating any shots, I'm just looking at storyboards and laying out animation. But I've noticed any company you go to, like in gaming, you could be, I think at EA, you're a CGA artist level, whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or at Activision, it's junior, intermediate, senior level, whatever, and then other companies will have different, and they kind of translate one-to-one across, but the titles are just arbitrary, I think.
Yeah. And speaking of that, so from a person standpoint who's trying to get in, because we do have a lot of those people listen to the show, or to seasoned professionals who want to make the jump over, because that's always a big question. I think I went to SIGGRAPH this past year, and we saw a lot of. I ended up talking to a lot of previous studios that were starting to use Unreal and whatnot, and they would see my resume or whatever. And they were like, "Oh, wait a minute, you did game for you're a game artist. Hey, we need people like you, because like that's starting to be a thing with previous studios and stuff like that with Unreal. So since the titles are sometimes like very crazy and you don't really know what a person does, if someone's looking to get into what you do and they're in school or they're already working at a studio and they just want to kind of switch over, what would be some of your advice that you would give to kind of parlay into that? Because like I was the most that I was excited about for this interview was kind of trying to figure out how to direct somebody into like what you do now, because I don't think it's not really set in stone. You always hear about the animators, you hear about the other ones, but the other artists, but like to get into like motion capture cleanup, is it just more so an animator's track, and then you kind of just fall into that role, or can they kind of parlay into what you do a little bit easier by focusing on what?
For film, I almost want to say it's easier to come in from school than it is to come in from another profession, because
Really?
you tend to specialize when you get into games or even TV and commercials. Like I was saying earlier, you were in the conversation, is I'm using much more of Maya on these past few projects than I have in the past 15 years of my career. because I haven't needed to. I've only ever worked specifically with the animation, and even more specifically with the motion capture side and motion because that was specifically what I was doing at that time. So I got really, really good at that, and I hadn't modeled anything since probably 2000. And now I'm doing this kind of stuff. I'm finding myself like, I know what I want to do, but how do you extrude? Oh crap! That's another. What is this button? Oh, that's so it's almost easier just because from school you've kind of already encompassed that whole program, and you just don't have the experience to kind of lay all that stuff out. But they have senior people that can help you do that. Yeah. Whereas if you're a senior, and it's not that you don't know what you're doing, it's just that you don't generally have the body of work to show that you know what you're doing unless you do side projects on your own, or you have other stuff freelance that you do that does involve that. Like for me, it's really hard to show that I can animate mechanical, like let's say Macross characters, whatever, even though I know how to do that kind of stuff, because I just don't have that. Most of my stuff is going to be motion capture and weapon animations and a couple of creatures. Yeah. So that's why I would think it would almost be harder for experienced people to kind of make the jump over to film unless you know somebody. Or and here's where your resume really comes in. It's like you have to basically say, I know camera work, because that's what helped me get my job specifically. Camera work. I know Unreal. I know motion capture. And then the layout stuff. I mean, I'm looking at this stuff, and I think I remember my boss kind of laughing. He's like, "You don't know how to do this?" I'm like, "Cut me a break. I haven't used effects in Maya since 2001. So forgive me if I don't know what a visor is. I haven't used that ever. I didn't even know that."
So just show me where it's at.
Show me where it is. Tell me what the buttons do, and I'll make it look awesome. And now I've kind of learned it. But I mean, the thing about vets is you pick up the program really quickly. You know exactly how to take 4 tools and get work out pretty quickly, whereas students will know the entire toolbox but not know how to get anything done. So it's a combination of the two, really. About the best for new people is just keep doing what your instructors tell you and make the best animation you can. Try to stage it. Just make it fantastic reel, and that'll pretty much get you in anywhere. For vets, it's a little more schmoozing. Like talk to the HR people. Tell them, sell yourself to them, and convince them you know what you're doing, and not just what you've been doing. Because I have seen, even at certain companies I've worked at, where we see a phenomenal reel, but because it doesn't specifically show what we want them to show, we've turned them down. We had an amazing guy back when I was at Activision apply, but it was like film level stuff. We were looking for another weapon animation, and we didn't see any weapon animations. So our art director was like, nope, in the decline pile, because he didn't show us what we wanted to see.
Yeah.
While we're giving advice, I think you touched on something real quick that was very important that people forget. When you were talking about that company saying, you have the job, we just wanted to see if you fit in the team. What's another piece of advice that you can give both vets and newbies when it comes to personality?
Be yourself, but be aware that being yourself might not land you the job, because the reason, the way I put it is, your resume gets them to look at your reel. Your reel lets them know if you know what you're doing or not. But the actual physical personal interview is what tells them, am I going to like working with this person? Because especially in this industry, you're going to be with these people 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week sometime. And if I can't stand your personality or any tics that you have or any views on certain software packages or whatever, it's not going to work. And that makes for a pretty hostile environment, and not necessarily like a physically hostile environment, but I mean it could lead to passive aggressiveness or just somebody not wanting to use a program that they have to because they just don't like it or whatever. And you need to know that before you decide to sign somebody for a minimum 2-month contract up to 2 years. So you have to go in basically just be confident in who you are, be yourself, but be aware that being yourself might get you turned away. And if it did get you turned away, you should actually be happy for that, because there's nothing worse than starting on a job, moving, setting down roots, only to realize you can't stand your job. because now you're stuck there because you don't want to leave halfway through a project because you got to go.
Yeah.
So,
and the work suffers.
the work suffers, everything suffers. It's a really small industry. People will remember if you leave halfway through. They'll remember your
Left
attitude.
me hanging, yeah, because they remember all the residual effects of what happened after you left. I got all his stuff, and I had to clean it up.
And that's really important. And that's really important to keep in mind too, to only put in your demo reel what you want to do. Because if you want to animate weapons, maybe you shouldn't have walk cycles. Because if you get hired to do walk cycles, guess what you're going to be doing? You're not going to be animating weapons.
Exactly, and that's something I tell people is basically whatever company you go for, one, do your research. Two, there's no such thing as a general demo reel anymore. There just isn't, and that hasn't been the case for over 10 years. You really have to target where you're going. If you want to work at Blizzard, show it work as good, if not better, than how they make one. If you want to work at Call of Duty, animate a weapon better than they do, and that's how you get the interview. Show them that you know what they do, and you can beat them at it, and that's the best way to get an interview.
Yeah.
And I used to tell my students, because at one point in my life, I was a career service advisor, and in Chicago, and the students will come to me and say, "Well, my portfolio teacher told me this and that, and this," and I said, "Okay, so your portfolio teacher is only in control of your grade. He's not in control of your career. So give your teacher what your teacher's looking for, but put on your demo reel exactly what it is that you want to do. Change it." Back when I was in school for 3D, everyone and their mother had a tractor in their demo reel. And we were supposed to have a tractor in there no matter what. So what I did is I put a tractor, but I tricked it out. It had like a chain link steering wheel. It had gold rim, gold plated spinners on the wheels, Like it was tricked out. If you're gonna force me to put a tractor in this bitch, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna drop it low. It's gonna bounce. We're going. Exactly. My tractor was from the streets.
just a bunch of trouble, no bass.
That's it. Just nice.
Where you from? West Coast, Cali, Bakersfield.
Farmers
John Deere.
Apple orchard, what?
I was going to say, for going to interviews, I think what people need to do as well as being themselves is there's like a fine line of showing them what you can do, but also being modest, because nobody wants to work with a know-it-all. So, but that's a hard, because you want people to know what you can do, but you don't want to sound like you want to do it all by yourself.
Because you can sound like that real quick, or people can sound like that real quick when they start to rattle off everything they know. And
and let's talk about that, because I deal with programmers on a daily basis, and programmers, they think that they're God, and their code is perfect, and they'll look at you with a straight face and say, "Well, it works on my machine." But bitch, it don't work on my machine, so now there's a problem, isn't there? And that's what, and
why are you so hostile?
Because you get tired of dealing with these people.
It's just a programmer. Leave that man alone.
Look, if you're an animator and you can animate really good, be proud of what you do, but remember, there's been people out here doing this a lot longer than you, and they don't want to hear you try to put them in their place.
We've actually, I've seen a junior animator do that before, and I almost had to sit them down and have words with them and say, "Look, I understand your enthusiasm. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but don't talk down to me when you haven't shipped one title yet, and I've shipped 11.
Now go get me a coffee.
Well, if I put my resume on your desk will bow.
Yeah.
Do not do that because that's the quickest way to lose your job or to get moved to a department you do not want to be in.
Did you have to deal with him long? Did he straighten up?
Yeah. Eventually, they once they saw why things were, because the good thing about being straight out of school is you're optimistic, you're enthusiastic, you're supposed to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Mm-hmm.
The bad thing about that is there are processes in place, and yeah, some of them could stand to be changed, but some of them are there for a reason, and you don't know the difference until you've been in it for a while, until you shift a title or two and know why this process worked opposed to that way, why you have to have a producer, why you have to have this done first as opposed to that done first, why these things have to go in parallel while these things can't go in parallel. And that just takes experience. I mean, it's just being green as opposed to being fused there. And that's the problem is you have to come across like you know what you're doing when you don't. You have to do it without coming across as cocky like we're talking about. So it is a fine line.
And you need to be very careful because you and this goes for, again, everyone. Artists have a tendency to come into a situation and be like, oh, well, I can't believe they did that. It's so much easier to do it this way. But you weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't there when people were working 20 hours a day trying to get this out, and they just found a solution and got it out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a reason why things are that way. And yeah, maybe it was because that person didn't know what the hell they're doing. But you need to err on the side of you weren't there, you don't understand the whole story. So take a step back. You can be helpful, just don't get fired.
Actually, the funny thing is, the two biggest issues I see with recent grads come in is basically schools generally do a very good job of having the latest and greatest technology for the students to learn on, which in theory is great. The problem is when you graduate might not be when a project is starting or ending even. You might come in halfway through a project, and let's say that project started with Maya 2011 as opposed to Maya 2015. Well, you don't want to switch a program halfway through a project because that is just opening a can of worms. The rendering method might be different. The scripts might not work the same. The back end is different. It might not support the plugins you're using now. So that's one of the biggest problems I see is like, oh, just do this in 2015 and they'll open a copy of 2015. You can't use 2015. Our pipeline isn't set up to support that. We started with 2011. Well, why can't you just upgrade it? You have any idea what you just asked me to do? Like, really? You have no idea how big of a problem that is. I would love to do that. I want to use the newest stuff because our pipeline started 2 years ago.
But for some reason, they're doing page layout in Corel Draw.
Because the programmer down the hallway likes it and it works.
You don't know
and
why.
There's no bugs with Corel Draw. It won't crash on you like Photoshop. You're just going to keep with it.
Exactly.
We ship 5 titles with it.
Yeah. That generally is the biggest problem I see with recent grads is they just can't grasp why you don't have the newest stuff, or they want to use the newest stuff and occasionally they'll go rogue and use it anyway, and then all of a sudden like 2 months later, hey, this isn't solving on my machine like it is on the renderer, or what's this error I get about a script? Like, what script are you using? Why aren't you using our scripts? Oh, I found this thing online and downloaded it, blah blah. Did you tell them you were downloading this and have it tested on our software and then disseminate it to the rest? No. Okay, so all that work you just spent 3 weeks on, we got to redo it. Just because you wanted to use the latest and greatest, and that is like 70% of the time. That's the problems I run into with newer art students.
That's millennials for you. No, it's
you two will kill you.
Scared when I came in that I was just happy to be there, and I was not gonna get into any kind of argument with anybody above me. I'm just like, yep, I'll do it.
So, Marvin, you've been part of the game industry, and you've been part of the motion picture industry. What are some of the what are some of the differences in the processes of delivering a game versus a film?
The biggest difference of the two is games deal with assets and film deals with shots. So, for example, if I do an animation for, let's say, a first-person shooter, I'm going to export a guy using a pistol from all angles, shooting it, reloading it, putting it away, bringing it back out, running with that kind of stuff. And each snippet is exported as, let's say, an anim file or a Maya binary file. Whereas if I was doing that same animation for film, the Maya file really, you need it just because if you ever need to tweak anything, but ultimately the final result is the render. So it's done as a shot, and all your assets go into that shot, and it's saved out as a shot. That's probably the biggest difference. It's probably the hardest concept to grasp, especially because they're tracked very, very differently. Most games track the assets, but not really the final product, whereas film is the other way. You track the final product, like what shot, which version, camera angles, lenses, all that good stuff. But you never really track the Maya file because it's not really that important in the grand scheme. There are a lot more. Those are the biggest ones.
Yeah.
I was actually just watching earlier today. I was watching Adobe's creating this thing. It's Adobe plus Feed, and it's called the Make It Challenge. So Adobe got together with this nonprofit called Feed, and what they do is they're doing exactly that. They're trying to feed the homeless and the needy. And it's an interesting thing. It's almost like they're coming out with their own reality show. We'll put a link to it on the show notes. But so they're showing these graphic designers and copywriters and stuff, and they have teams. There's like I think about 6 teams. I don't even know if it matters, but there's 2 people on each, and they're brainstorming and they're coming up with their concepts for to pitch the feed people, and then whoever wins, their concept goes into production. What does your concept phase, if you will, look like when you're ramping up your part of the production?
In film or in games?
Let's talk. You're doing film right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk film.
We don't have a ramp up actually, because the client does that for us. Basically, they come in with storyboards, and about the most we'll do is take a couple of sketches and make storyboards for them out of those sketches, or a rough draft of what they want. But generally, the client knows what they want. They just want to see it before they send it off to finalize. So unless we're doing something for the company itself, which we have done, there really is very little pre-production, so to speak, because we are pre-production.
Who would be your client?
Disney, for a Jungle Book. That was our client. So that they have screenwriters and directors and all that stuff, and they generally have their own staff on hand too that will have sketches for us, and that's what we'll use to make our shots and send that back to them. And occasionally we'll go off script and show them, hey, this is what you gave us, and we got that for you, but we think this might work better. And that's about the only real feedback we give them in that case. But we generally don't do that much of the starting out.
Do you get bits and pieces of the actual movie, or do they say, here's the entire idea, can you work on the whole movie for us?
Both. It depends. If we get the contract for the entire movie, then we get the whole movie. But most places don't give you the whole thing. Like, for example, when I was at Digital Domain, the third floor actually had some shots for Jungle Book, but I wasn't at the third floor. I was at Digital Domain. So we were both working in tandem on the movie, but completely different parts of the movie.
That's one of the fascinating things that I think people don't realize is Disney has an idea, and then they go out and they get people like Third Floor and all these other production companies to build the separate pieces, and then someone puts it all together. And we, as the consumer of this product, take it for granted that there's so many pieces to it. And it never really made sense to me until we had a technical animation director on the show, and then later she actually worked on Ant-Man, and then later we had an animator for Ant-Man, and then Charlie and I have a friend that's in Chicago who did the end credits for Ant-Man, and like all these little companies are doing their own little chunk for these movies, and then huh? You worked on Ant-Man too? See?
Yeah.
Nice.
Not me specifically. Actually, Andy worked on that.
Oh, Andy Long?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And yeah, like it's real easy to forget how many moving pieces are a part of the bigger whole. And I know Charlie talks about this all the time, where you go to the movies with your friends and then they like nitpick. Oh, did you see that one scene where that robot just wasn't quite robotic enough? And you're like,
shut up.
Any idea how much work went into that one little thing that you're going to complain about that just officially ruined the entire movie for you? We're sorry. We're sorry you didn't enjoy that 5 seconds.
So bad. And then those would be those students though that Marvin ends up getting.
That'll be so helpful that they get fired.
It's that same dude.
Get your ass.
It's that same dude. You know you had one in your class that you graduated with. Everyone has one or two of the Obi opinion dude that like bites him in the butt one day because he over opinionated with the wrong person.
Well, at least it's not so bad now because it's standardized to 1 or 2 programs. Back when it was like 7 or 8 different programs, you had little factions that they were in
the war between
or the Maya camp or the.
What do you mean you did the special effects in Microsoft Paint?
Nothing is better than True Space, man. It's the best program out there. You're wrong.
What are you talking about? Bryce rules it all. It's all about Bryce and Poser.
Oh, wow.
They're the originators of all this.
Do you guys remember when, before Macromedia got bought by Adobe, Macromedia had a 3D package?
Hey, they did?
Yeah, they did. I can't remember what it was. But yeah.
Was it?
Oh, you're not talking about Director, are you?
No, not Lightwave. No, not Director either.
Electric Image.
Is that what it was?
Ooh, I think it is.
I don't know, but it was
so old school.
Terrible.
Remember Director? I had a class in Director.
No, not Director. Director was
CDs
and multimedia and stuff.
Yeah, I just remember.
You know what's funny? At my studio, I've started using Moto, and I actually like that one. But our files are Lightwave files.
Are they seriously? Oh,
Yeah.
because they're the original. Before they broke off, right? The owner or whoever the head of Moto back in the day, right? Weren't they originally Lightwave guys?
I guess I don't know a lot about them, but I think their company's called the Foundry. But I just thought that was funny because I had an old art director that loved Lightwave, and I was like, "Wait, that's like all old school." And now I'm at a studio now where we use Lightwave files.
Yeah,
you better be careful what you say.
Well, Moto recently got bought out by the Foundry, but the original whatever they were called, I can't remember what they were called before the Foundry, but that's where their background, their roots way back in the day. That's crazy. I didn't know they were Lightwave files. But you like Moto though? You like it?
Yeah, I like it.
I've been looking into it for the modeling. I've been looking into it for the modeler because I heard it's like once you get used to the program, it's awesome.
There's some good videos up there by Torfrick.
Yeah.
And recent stuff because I watched some old videos that sound like the guy's Liam Neeson.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's all old school, like the old way. But now there's like shortcuts and stuff that this other guy has. I need to watch those videos.
Torfrick is amazing. He's
Yeah.
really good. Like he has this weird setup. We're getting off on a tangent, but he has this weird setup where like I don't know. Maybe you know this better. He's like baking and doing everything. Like maybe for his personal work, it seems like he's doing all the stuff inside of Moto. You know, even for his rendering and stuff like that. I guess there's this weird like normal map baker and all this stuff he's doing where he doesn't have to leave the program. He says he's not kicking it into like Substance or any of those or XNormal. It's all in Moto and it's coming out looking amazing. You know.
Oh, with the way we still use we use Substance in our pipeline, but the thing I like about Moto is you can have like all of like your Greeble in like folders in Moto, so you can like you know, if you like want to put different bolts and stuff on your piece in the program, there's a folder that has all those pieces, and you can go in there and just grab it. It's kind of like ZBrush. You just pull it out and put it in a layer, and it's on there. Yeah. So you can have like this whole folder of stuff and just grab like all these things and assemble them in. It's like Lego pieces. You just assemble them all in the program. It's cool.
Have they have they? The one thing that used to hamper me from jumping into Moto before was that third construction plane was always weird to me. Do they still have that?
Yeah, but you can switch it back to Maya if you want to. That's what I did.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm excited now. They used to throw me off. They would basically throw another grid vertical, and you can like draw off that grid. You can extrude off that grid instead of having the normal, grid setup.
Yeah, you can have a plane. You can reset that plane to normal, or you can use that plane whenever you want to. And like say, like let's say something's on a 45, you can just touch that surface and say align the grid to this, and then everything moves. And then you can switch it back.
And they still had a weird like arc rotate setup, weird, almost like ZBrush style, where my grid and stuff used to always be upside down. It used to be weird. It wasn't like Maya or Max before, but it sounds like they switched it up.
Yeah, they made it more unified.
Sweet.
So you guys were talking about like Lightwave and all these throwback software packages. What do you guys think about Hollywood constantly remaking old movies?
I think I've seen enough Batman and Spider-Man movies.
I think that Spider-Man's getting a reboot too again. I think. I heard. They kind of have to. Yeah.
No, seriously, they do. Like contractually, the way it's set up, if they don't make a Spider-Man movie every so often, they lose the rights to Spider-Man, which is why they keep remaking it. Because if they don't, Marvel gets it back, and that's why they keep making a new Spider-Man every so often, because they don't want to lose that franchise.
It'd be so awesome if they lost it, though. No offense to
them.
Well,
they are working on it because Spider-Man's supposed to be coming back into the franchise.
Just for that one movie.
Oh, is that right? Come on.
Marvel had to pay a lot of money to license their character back from Sony to make that movie. But they just think that the offset will be enough to make it worthwhile. But that's the only reason.
Oh, wow, brutal. Sony ruins everything.
Whoa. Views of Carlos Gomez.
Are those of Carlos? Yeah, no. Dude, like, okay, so I'm a big fan of Sony stuff. I really am.
Yeah.
But we're going to go all the way back. They had Beta. Beta was better than VHS. They screwed the pooch on that one.
Wow.
They had a leg up on this whole Xbox PlayStation thing. Did they get comfortable?
For a good 8 years, yeah.
But at one point I had the Xbox. I had my 360, and then I had my PlayStation 3. And I wanted so badly to play my PlayStation 3 just because it was a sexier machine. But then I'd be playing a game, and one of my friends wanted to also play, and then we wanted to chat. But then, like, you had to quit out of the game to start a chat to then go back into the game. And I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm just so done.
We used to use Xbox
They
Live.
were giving away the PlayStation, their whole the multiplayer thing. They were giving it away for free.
And that's what it felt like.
And that's exactly what it felt like. Like, okay, so you're giving this away for free, and all I get is my little avatar. I get to walk from building to building, and I get to maybe change the music from time to time. Get the hell out of here! I get to move my couch. I get to move my couch in this virtual. You know what? I don't want to move my couch in reality. Why am I going to move my couch in your little tired ass PlayStation land?
What was that called? Mies? What was that called? That little
PlayStation Home, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to clean my house in reality, and now I'm going to go into my little video game land, and I have to clean my house in video game land too? No, I'm good.
Ben, I've had roommates that we know that will clean their house in the game and will not clean their house in reality.
Oh, wow. Talk about it.
I have a feeling I'm going to be at their party this week.
So you're nasty in two realms.
Just put them on blast.
Inside joke.
Look on Facebook and whatever party you going to this weekend, I'm be like, outed.
You said it.
See, I have several parties this weekend, so.
Oh, there you go. right on your Facebook. Got him.
So Marvin, at what point in your career were you able to sit back and say, whoa, I'm actually here. I'm actually doing it?
There was 2 times. The first time was when I got my own business card at EA when I was working on Madden. And I saw that the video we were going to be showing, the demo we were going to be showing at E3, because it was fantastic, because we were running a solid 30 frames per second, a real-time, fully mocap. And this is back when Sega had Game Day, and ours just blew that out of the water. It was incredible. Nice. The second time when I realized what that meant was when I was in Japan on vacation, and I saw a Call of Duty poster in Akihabara on the side of a building in Japanese.
Nice.
And then I walked into the store, and they had a demo of it in Japanese. I'm like, this is worldwide. This is huge. Yeah, that's when it sunk in. Okay, this is I've made it. Like, this is what I do.
That's awesome. Have you seen your movie, or have you ever seen your name on a scrolling movies, like the end credits?
Not in a film yet, because it hasn't. The first film I was on was Jungle Book, and that won't be out until early next year. So.
Will you be on that?
I'm sorry?
Will you be on that?
They told us we were. I sincerely hope so.
Yeah, we always talk
a little frustrated white boy shot up a place.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, Carlos, because Jack always tells us it depends on like how the deal worked in the contract in terms of who shows up on it, because a lot of times, like our other buddy Patrick, that's been on the show a couple of times, they would do the end credits, but maybe it'll be just their studio's name up there, and they wouldn't get their name on there. Whereas our buddy Josh, I see that dude. He seems like his name is on it every time. I don't think he's ever had that problem with his name not showing up on the credits.
Yeah, well, that's the part.
Seeing his name.
Yeah, you'll see credits sometimes, and you'll just see like the company, and then all of a sudden, a couple of lines later, you see like catering by blah blah blah. And you're like, catering?
I know. Senior sandwich artist. Like, wait a minute, I worked my ass off for this.
The dude at the end of the buffet. He gave me roast beef.
Yeah, but you're right. It does depend on the contract the studio got, because there have been instances, like even here where I am now, where they had to go back and some people that worked on one of the Avengers movies, only a handful got their names on the film credit. Oh. So then Marvel had to go back and on the DVD add their names. That's kind of a really sad
white out.
Because
yeah.
Who sits with
white out on the
DVD?
Yeah. Well, talk about that though with the game, guys. And I'm sure, Fisa, you can talk about this too. Like, Have you guys been fortunate enough to get your name on the credits of the games you've worked on, for the most part?
I never really look.
What?
Visa finishes a game, she just drops the mouse.
Drops it in the bucket of all the other games.
Just drops the mouse and walks off. Yeah. Do whatever. It don't matter.
Yeah, I have to look, they're really, and gaming is very good about asking how do you want your name, if you want a nickname, if you want to be omitted from the game. I've never opted out. I've never had a nickname, but I don't think I've ever been left out of credits for any game.
Right. That's cool. I remember on my first one on Fight Night, like I'm right toward the end because the last name's Williams, but since I put the whole name, so I took up the whole bottom half because it's Charlie B. Williams the third. So it's longer than everything else. It's awesome. You can't miss it. It's like an eyesore almost. Because everybody else's name's like really nice and short. Like I can tell whoever put them in, it's like, man, I gotta write this whole thing in all these spaces. It's awesome. So
I was like watching the Japanese credits when they have the one Western name in there.
Yeah. That one guy made it. He's the one who really made it.
Yeah, so like Hiroko Nagasaki, Ariko Kutanabe, and then George.
Because you gotta think,
what are you doing in Japan?
How badass is George?
Exactly.
He has to be really badass to get to that point.
It's really hard, and that's something
Right?
else. It's really hard to get a job overseas if you don't speak the language. It's getting easier now because I do know a couple of people that were working in Shanghai for some Chinese companies.
Wow.
But for the most part, like working in Japan, good luck. You are not going to get a job because I remember when I got into the gaming industry, that was my goal was to work at Squaresoft, and it's such a long because you have to be fluent in the language. And you have to live in the place before they even consider hiring you. So it's almost impossible to get a work visa from them. It's so much easier to get a work visa in the U.S. than it is in Japan or China even, although it is easier in China now.
Well, Canada has those kind of restrictions too, where if you have a project, you have to hire a certain amount of Canadians, and they only let a handful of non-Canadians work on that product.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times
Meanwhile, we're selling our ass to the highest bidder.
And a lot of times those studios have to, if you get on at one of the bigger ones, they can kind of like, sponsor you and whatnot and bring you over. But like, it's really hard to do it without, just kind of without that, sponsorship. That's awesome.
So Marvin, when you're not in front of a computer animating and stuff like that, what kind of things do you do?
I'm generally really active, and that, like I said, that just having such a varied background has helped me as an animator. And this is probably the biggest piece of advice I give to students is, depending on what you want to do, you need to do stuff outside of work that's not work related, because it makes you a much more complete person. I had some younger kids when I was in the UK. He was a designer, and like a level designer. And he always asked me, so what courses should I take? Should I take some Unreal courses or like some Maya courses? And I was like, no, take an architecture class. Take an interior design class, because that's what you're doing. You're designing buildings, you're designing layouts, you're building environments, and the only way you can learn to build that properly is to take classes that teach you that. Because you're going to learn Unreal or Maya or any other program on your own. That's pretty easy. You can find tutorials online. But to get the proper sense of space and flow and just scale, because you can tell when an architect makes a room and just an amateur gamer makes a room, because things just don't feel right for some odd reason. The desk is too big.
It's the biggest doorways in history.
Too wide. That door is a little too far. Things like that. So from an animation perspective, I always tell everybody, be active. Be as active as you can. I'm huge into martial arts, and that's what prompted me into doing motion capture, because I can wear the suit. And I've been on set a couple of times where I look at a guy and said, you can't do that. Well, why not? It's like, well, try it. your human body doesn't move that way. It rotates, your pivot is in your chest, not in your hips. And then we'll go on set and we'll have a stuntman do it, and I'm like, this is why. And I know because I can do that move. You learn the limits of the body that way. I'm a motorcycler. That's helped me on a couple of games that had motorcycle animations in it. I do dancing. I used to be an amateur salsa dancer. That's helped me for certain background work I've done. Gymnastics.
Like.
Yeah. So you think you can dance?
Yeah, exactly.
America's Best Dance Crew.
Yeah.
Magic Mike is coming back up.
Yeah, but pretty much anything. Like be active, especially if you're doing Western games. Pick up weapons, pick up archery, pick up just go to the gun range, start shooting just rent a pistol, rent a little rifle, and do that kind of stuff. Because just knowing that little thing will give you an edge up. Because I'd rather give the job. It's like, okay, you have animations of guys running around in a 3D environment, but this guy also has that, but he's an Army guy, and you grew up in Texas. I have a pretty decent idea that you grew up with guns, and this is a war game. So I'm being dead serious.
No, it makes complete sense.
Not necessarily give you the job, but at least I'm more likely to talk to you, because just based on that alone. You
have an understanding of the physicality with it, yeah.
This is what we do. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that at least, so you probably have an easier time adjusting to this than if you spend your entire weekends playing piano. Because we're not making a music game unless you want to work at harmonics and work on the next Guitar Hero. Then that's where that would come in.
Yeah.
I hear you. And not to mention, it'll give you something to get away from the technology. It'll give you something to get away from work, because you will burn out.
Yes.
And what's going to happen is you're going to have your head down. Let's say you're working on a film. You're going to have your head down for a solid at least 2 years. When you finally come up for air, 2 years of your life is gone. You know? And let's say you work on 5 movies. You got 5 things on your resume. You've been working for 10 years straight. You're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, whoa, where has time gone? I don't have any friends. I don't have any hobbies. You're gonna get tired of looking at your buddy that you work with. You need a break from all that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just stepping away from the technology, stepping away from the work is very important, just to refresh, regroup.
And so something I actually discovered that was a really, really weird byproduct. I don't have any wrist issues, like at all. And this kind of came to light with a friend of mine back when I was at Activision, who had to get carpal tunnel surgery because he had carpal tunnel syndrome. Man. And then I asked, well, what are your hobbies? Well, I go home and paint. What else? Well, I read. Do you do anything physical? Well, I jog. Well, what about your hands? Do you move your hands at all? Because I've been doing games longer than you have, and I don't have any issues. And then I realized it's because I do martial arts. So I'm constantly bending my hands backwards.
Stronger, yeah.
And just keeping that range of motion. I have zero problem with my wrist, where this guy, he's constantly painting, he's on a mouse, he's reading, he's jogging. Like, he never opens his hand. And he had like the scars to show it afterwards. And I'm like, wow, just actually having a hobby saves my health. And it wasn't even like a major hobby. It's just something I do in my spare time for fun. And it's really amazing how much that helps.
Yeah. Every one of us was doing this while you were talking.
I was checking myself. I was
people
my
like,
wrist out.
It's like, shake it off. Because I'm thinking the same thing. Because we're all like, man, it's been good 10 years. Yeah, I'm good, I think.
I was thinking to myself, because I try to go to the gym almost every day, and I was like, I need to start doing some hand extension exercises, because everything I do is holding onto a bar, like this. You know what I mean? So I need to.
Go do some push-ups.
For me, that's martial arts. Personally, for me, that's martial arts. But I mean, I'm sure there's yoga. People laugh at that, but I'm like, no. I mean, your legs will start to
keeps you loose.
Not to mention when you start getting up there in age and you're sitting there in front of a computer all slouched over and your lower back starts to tighten up and it takes a little longer to get that loose. And now I'm not talking from experience. I'm just saying if it happens to you.
No, I've heard,
Yeah.
I heard. I have a friend that.
His name's Carlos. Having no problem stretching in the morning. After that, lifting all the weights. You're wrecked.
At my job, we've had a lot more people getting standing desks.
Oh, I have one. Yeah, it's awesome. Do you have one, Caesar?
No, I do not. I've been thinking about it. We kind of have to like ask around for it, but we had like an ergonomics lady come in, and I'm short, so I guess for some reason I got like a pad on my chair, but she just told me how I'm supposed to sit, and I don't really sit like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, I should get a standing one.
Yeah.
I was doing some. Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking. Like, go ahead and eat your fries, sweetie.
Little soapbox.
Oh my
Did you get a sippy cup too?
It's a high
That's
chair.
weird, but yeah.
It's a high chair. Make sure you're buckled in.
I was working in Redwood City, and I had this desk with a little panel on the bottom under the desktop part, and it had different settings, and you can push a number and it would go up. You push another one and it go down. I was like, oh, sweet. I was trying to find the nap setting so I can push it and then take a nap on it.
Nice.
You're not going to do that here.
It's funny when you get a standing desk. Like when I got to my place, like they had just like built out. It used to be kind of like a room that they kind of knocked out the walls. It used to be like a storage room, in the back of the studio, and then they knocked out the walls, so now it overlooks the rest of the studio, kind of, right? So it's like opens up. Nice. But in there, they put all standing desks. So I was like the first one in there when I got there. There was nobody else in that room. Now there's like 3 of us. So I got the nice corner one, so facing out. But it's a running joke. Everybody could be sitting in the morning, right? And then you hear somebody push the button, and you hear, and he stands up for a couple minutes. He doesn't say anything. And then like 5 minutes later, somebody pushes the button. You hear it again. And then finally somebody yell out, really? You doing this? Is everyone standing? Is this what's happening right now? Okay, cool, let's go. You stand up, and then it's always like a joke of who breaks the seal, if you will, like sitting back down. So then an hour later, it's like you hear somebody's desk goes down, or say we had a meeting, we all come back, and one of the desks are down, so they don't have to have that like listen to the desk like slowly come back down, and they've like admitted defeat and they're tired of standing. And sometimes
that was my thing when I worked in Redwood City. I would be sitting in traffic for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and that's just to show up to work. So I'd be standing for like 4 hours, and everyone would be like, "What are you doing? Why are you?" Okay, it took me 2 hours to get here today. I got to make up for that. Mm-hmm. I can't. Your back gets all.
Yeah, I get defiant. I just be sitting down. Like I'm not standing up. I'm not standing up today, guys. And finally, I feel guilty, and I do a little standing, but I sit down like 15 minutes later. So push my desk back down. Gotta do it.
I tried it. I tried it.
Good. I like it though. It's cool. It's cool.
So that's it. Get out there and stretch.
Yeah, in theory for me it worked, but we had them in digital domain, and whenever I'm standing at a desk, I feel like I should be moving. So basically, I come to my desk, start doing something, and realize I'm standing. I should be walking or something. And then I walk over, and I'm like, no, I got stuff to do. And I go back to my desk, work for a little bit, and I just find myself just walking away.
Dude.
Because like I'm standing. That means walking. That means motion. And finally, I was like, let me just sit down, and I get down to the bottom. And then about like 2 weeks before my contract was up, I was talking to this one girl, and she'd been there for a while. It's like, yeah, it sucks. We ran out of like the stand-up desk because I can't stand sitting down. And I'm like, well, I have one, and I can't stand. I don't like standing up. And she's like, this whole time you've had a desk I could be using. I'm like, yeah. Sorry.
How's that feel?
No. Because we both ended on the same day. I said, well, sorry. I mean, I would have given it to you if I would have known you wanted it.
Oh, that's
when
the other
when
thing.
you go to those people that are listening to a recorded version of this, go back to the part where we talk about not being a jerk at work.
Wow.
No, what we had there was a lack of communication. That's different. If I would have known, I would have gladly given her my seat. I just didn't know.
He's the most active guest we've had on the show, because literally it's affecting his life in a way, Sketch Zone Nation, right now. That like, I'm just picturing him working with him and seeing him walk away from his desk and being like, I gotta come back. I need to sit down because he's so active.
Walking back and forth. You see him walking back and forth. I'm not really sure if I like Disney or DreamWorks. You know, I like them both equally, but sometimes I just like to. You sit still.
As soon as he sits down, it's just like his body is standing in the upright position. It's go time. Let's go.
I need coffee.
He's making
coffee. Now I gotta go to the bathroom.
He's making people coffee, bringing it to their desk, other side of the building. Marv is huffing it. I'll be there. 5 minutes. I gotta get this coffee to, all the programmers.
Could you imagine being like a 2D artist, but you have one of those desks that you have to pedal to while you're sitting there? All your drawings would be all like.
All your drawings are at 45-degree angles.
Like everything would just be squiggly.
The right side of all your humans are like really dark.
Yeah. Dude, we're working on Thundercats. Everything looks like a Red Bull commercial.
Crazy.
So, do you guys have any more questions for Marvin?
I'm trying to think anymore.
Marvin, do you have any questions for us?
No, it's been flowing pretty good.
It's pretty good. Very, very informative today. Awesome.
Cool. Well, yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show, sir.
For having me, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Real quick, Marvin, did you go to SIGGRAPH this year?
Not this year. I went last year, and I didn't go this year just because I was already working.
Was your company at SIGGRAPH?
Yes, they were.
And they were in the job area?
Yes, they were.
Do you guys use Unreal at your place too?
Sort of.
Charlie's like, why didn't you call me back?
No, that's the other. They're the guys. They're the other guys that are using Unreal. It was them and one other company, I think, that was.
Yeah, we do use Unreal, but I think right now we're using the Crytek engine more than anything. Oh no, Bitfrost.
Wow.
Sorry, Bitfrost.
Frostbite?
Yeah, Frostbite. Yeah, whatever.
Frostbite? Okay.
There's so many different ones, which is surprising actually, because usually it's either Unreal or Unity.
I didn't know they were licensing their out like that. It's kind of cool.
So they were using Frostbite. They do have. They ask if you know that, but I think it's more to see if you just know how to use an engine.
Some kind of engine type of deal. Yeah. Interesting.
Because I have yet to use it since I've been there, and I've been there 6 months now. So.
When you were at Ready at Dawn, did you do any of their like behind the scenes or any kind of promotional videos for them?
No, I wasn't there long enough. That was literally like a 2-month thing, and like the day that came up that if they were going to extend me or not, I put in my notice because that's when I got the job at Digital Domain.
Yeah.
But I mean, it worked out great because they were we actually got a lot more done in the time than we thought we would. Mm-hmm. So I think by leaving, I extended the other 2 guys by a few weeks, so it kind of helped them on their end too.
There you go.
Were you living in LA and driving down there every day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. What's that commute like?
Not as bad as my drive to Burbank. It was actually. It took me 55 minutes to get from door to door from my house to Irvine, Ready at Dawn.
Really?
And it took me an hour. 57 minutes to get from door to door in Burbank, despite the fact that that's 3 times the distance, just because of traffic on the 101. So I actually preferred to drive to Irvine because it felt like I was actually going a distance, than as opposed to going to Burbank because I'm just bumper to bumper the entire way. And then I decided to try to ride my motorcycle to work, and then 3 weeks later I got into an accident, so I was like, no more. And,
really?
Yeah, it was a minor fender, but still, I mean, I was like, yeah, no more. So they keep asking me, you want to go back to Burbank? I'm like,
nah.
I don't care if it's Marvel. I'd rather stay here in Green City.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
Carlos, you pretty much have crushed my like any sort of like aspirations of having a bike when I get a bike again and riding it to
Yeah, you
California.
can. It just
Yeah.
depends on where you
Sounds
ride.
crazy.
I do ride my bike like on PCH at the beach here because it's
Yeah.
safer. But
Okay.
or even driving to downtown, but the 101, just the 101, 405 up to the 110, I just avoid that corridor on the motorcycle. I refuse to go there during rush hour.
Because I
I
thought the
had my
Dan Ryan
motorcycle-
had out here, but you
When I
just
lived in LA, I had my motorcycle there, and I was trying to, I was doing the lane sharing thing because the 101 is that no 101's over there. The one that goes up the downtown area.
110.
The 110. I was going up the 110. I was trying to go past this lady, and every time I'd give it gas to go past her lane sharing wise, she would merge into me. And so then I would have to slow down, and then I'd give it more gas, and she'd merge into me. And I'm like, what are you doing? So finally I just gassed it, and I go to get past her. She merged my handlebar, clipped her side mirror. The next day I had my motorcycle on eBay. I was like, this is not how I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Some dumb lady not wanting to let me pass for no reason at all.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
You're-
scary.
Yeah, so I got rid of it, and I got some golf clubs.
Get the spinning rims. The spinning tractor rims.
It's spinning tractor.
They're spinning. They're spinning.
It's a chain link putter. So Marvin, if people are looking for you on the internet and they want to take a look at your work, where can they find you?
There's two places, either at my website, which is www.ezekyle.com, and that's spelled EZIKYLE, or the best place probably that has the most current stuff would be on Zerply. So it's zerply.com/Marvin Rojas. It's actually down this below here, and it's backwards to me, so I can't read that, so I'm going to assume it's correct. But yeah, those would be the two best places, and for work and just for just for career purposes, probably the Zerply page would be the best because that's pretty much a network for visual artists.
How new is Zerply?
I'm sorry?
How new is Zerply?
I just found out about it maybe February, March this year, very recent, and I don't think it's been around for even 2 years yet. It's a relatively
yeah. I don't
And
know.
for people that don't know, Zerply is like LinkedIn for visual artists.
I'm on it. This is awesome. I didn't know. It's very rare. I don't know about something.
Yeah, but the thing about it, when I got on, it was by invite only. I don't know if that's still the case. I just happened to be found by somebody on LinkedIn, I think, and they just invited me to the Zerply thing. And I didn't know what he was talking about, and I was going to say no until literally that same day, another friend of mine that I was working with at Digital Domain said, "Hey, have you tried going to Zerply?" And I was like, "What the hell? Oh, I just got that invite. Let me go ahead and say yes." And then I made it up, and it does actually work because they do specifically put you in recruiters from other companies. You basically set up when your contract ends, when you're available, what kind of work you're looking for, and a couple of weeks before your contract is up at your current job, they'll start sending out emails to people, "Hey, this person is coming available." And I actually forgot to update my termination date because it got extended, and I got an email from my two recruiters, "Hey, would you be available to start this day?" And I'm like, I'm kind of still working. Oh, let me update my Zerply page. Sorry. Please don't forget about me in the future. But as of right now, I can't accept any work.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's
I
really
just went on the website and it shows that it's an invite only.
Yeah,
but
it's still
you can
invite.
apply.
You can apply.
You can
Yeah.
fill it out and apply.
Let me see if I can invite you guys.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, I have to see this.
That way you can find Charlie at zerply.com/Mr. Pinterest. So, Fisa, thank you for filling in.
Oh, no problem. It was fun. It was nice to see all of your faces.
And it was nice to see you be a part of the entire show, not constantly dropping off.
I know.
So if people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook. Castellanos, the name right there.
MySpace.
You can find me at mindyourdamnbusiness.com.
Seriously, for me, all you gotta do is type in my name and you can find me. But yeah, LinkedIn or Facebook.
Excellent.
I am also on LinkedIn. I forgot. Yeah, I just don't really update that much.
Fisa, you got to post some more pictures of cars. You've been slacking lately. I haven't seen any other good ones.
And Charlie B. Williams, if people are looking for you, where can they find you?
So you can find me at my website, which is www.cargocollective.com/CharlieB. I'm on Facebook also, facebook.com/CharlieBW3. You can find me on that wonderful site that we call LinkedIn, Charlie B. Williams the third. And obviously, if you need any kind of referencing needs, you can find me on Pinterest. Pinterest.com/CharlieBW3. Yeah, if you to go there, get your life right, and check out some cool stuff. I love Pinterest. It's a great tool.
It really is. I do. I have to admit my admiration.
Yeah. Coming soon, Zerply.
Coming soon. Zerply.com/MrPinterest.
No, we're not gonna do that. It'll be the Charlie BW3. The good stuff.
And I am Carlos Gomez. You can find me at carlosrgomez.com. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest at Coconut Justice. Actually, before I forget, I did want to take a second. It is Veterans Day. I want to give a holler out to all my brothers and sisters out there wearing the flag on their arms. Thank you. Thank you very much for everything that you do and for putting your life out so we can do silly things like hang out with our artistic friends and talk about life and missiles going up over LA and whether or not aliens are coming to get us. So yeah, happy Veterans Day to all of you guys that are still getting it done, and for all of us that have been there, done that, thank you guys too. So happy Veterans Day, everyone. This has been the Sketch Zone podcast. You can go to sketch.zone and take a look at all of the podcasts there. You can also submit artwork, and if you win, you get to come be on the podcast. While you're there, you can also rate artwork and let us know which ones you think are good enough to come and be on the show. If you're on Twitter, you can find us at SketchZone. You can go to facebook.com/thesketchzone. You can find us also at youtube.com/sketchzonepodcast, and you can find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Everyone, we hope you enjoyed the show. Have a wonderful week.
See you guys.